I'm going to walk you through the QA process for a Braze in-app message on web, because the last thing your customers want is a broken pop-up that might make them question your competence. We'll use the SportFit running brand as our example. Picture this. A new user visits your website and is interested in your shoes. You know that most of your visitors don't convert, but you still want a lead that you can nurture to eventually complete a transaction. The Braze web in-app message is perfect for this. We can use a standard modal when a user visits that will give some reasons as to why a customer would want to stay in the loop, and then we can include a field for their email. The QA process for an in-app message is going to vary based upon the type of message that you're sending to your users. Like, for example, if you're including links in your message, then you have to test to make sure that when the message is live, that those aren't broken and everything works properly. But generally, your in-app message should be consistent with your company branding, use thoughtful personalization, render correctly on different devices, and successfully motivate a call to action. All right, so now we're going to start the QA process within the Braze dashboard. And I'm going to preface that this isn't going to include the technical aspects about actually getting the in-app message working on your website, because that's more of a developer role with the initial setup. So going into the actual message, we can see that we've chose the setting for a web browser. So that's important to get it to render correctly. And then we can also preview here what it's going to look like on a phone or a desktop. As you can see, the behavior is a little bit different per platform. Then once we go into the edit, we can preview and test, which is going to be an important feature that we use when we QA. So within the in-app message for web specifically, you can't as easily send a test message to your users as they're visiting the website, just based upon how it technically works with Braze. So what I'm going to suggest to anyone that's wishing to QA this specific type of message is to set up a test campaign as we're doing here, instead of trying to work with push on web if you haven't already implemented it, because that's what I've found works the best. So to preview this message, we can either select a random user and it's going to grab someone from the database that is already existing, or we can select an existing user if you have their email address or their external ID. So I'm going to preview as myself, and it's going to fill in my first name. And then also too, we can preview as a custom user. So if there was someone that you wanted to preview how it would appear for them, like a Joe, then that's how it's going to appear. I'm also checking important things like, is the color in the logo matching the color in the buttons? You can make sure that those two are exactly the same by using a color tool. And then also too, I'm QAing the messaging, just scanning with my eyes, getting a second opinion to make sure that the grammar works, the flow is natural, it fits our brand, whichever brand that may be for SportFit running. And then also too, second step, I'm going into the settings and I'm choosing what's the appropriate trigger. So for the trigger, right now we're just going to do with a session, but if you have an event that you want to trigger on using a campaign on web, you can do so, but that's specific to a campaign on web. So if you want to trigger off an event while someone's visiting your website, make sure that it's a campaign. But we'll just be testing with starting a session in any app. And then this message should appear after 5 seconds for users. We also want to check the start time to make sure that it's current, because sometimes the settings can get a little wonky if it's too far in the past. And then also too, we want to allow our users to be re-eligible, meaning this will just be specifically for our test user. So in terms of the audience right now, we're only testing with a specific address. That's going to be for when we're launching on the production site. So only a user with that specific email is going to receive it. And then also too, we want to test on a development website if it's possible, where it's going to appear for everyone. So we'll be testing both in our demo just to make sure that it's appearing properly. It looks right on the device. Um, yeah. And so we will also be removing the control group to make sure that while we're testing the look and feel on a device, that it's not getting entered into a control group mistakenly. Um, and also, too, we want to look up a user. If we know a specific user that is a part of a segment, we want to double check to make sure that they're still going to be eligible for this message. So just double checking the segments, making sure that's good to go. Okay. And then also too, we want to assign the conversion events. Once we launch this on our test website, we want to make sure that if a user receives the in-app message and then they perform one of the conversion events, that it's logging that properly, and that it fits into what we're looking for users to complete. Lastly, once we are ready, we can launch, and then we're going to test on our desktop and then also on mobile. Okay, so the first place that we want to launch is on desktop. We want to make sure that we're not using any content blockers that might interrupt with the in-app message. And if we can't get to the message to appear, it always helps to try a different browser, which is why I'm on Microsoft Edge, funnily enough. So as you can see here, the pop-up is going to appear after the 5 seconds. It's using the default personalization with friend, and I'm going to put in a example email address to check to make sure it populates. All right, so under the audience tab, we can just search for that user that I typed in. And as you can see, it does pop up. So just a good quick double check there. All right, so now we're on mobile. We are going to be using a signed in profile. So my own profile that we mentioned earlier. As we can see, it's filling in the personalization like it should, and the look and feel matches what a user would expect. Thanks for watching. And if your team needs help QAing your Braze journeys, contact Covalent for more.